President Biden playing the part on April Fools, boasting about what he calls a booming economy. But little does he know the joke is on him. Biden claims everything's going just great, but even the left-wing media won't defend him. Politico warning about Biden's sophomore slump. And with the president failing on just about every single issue, you have to give Joe some credit. Despite his dumpster fire presidency, he sure knows how to spin things.
It's very clear. America are back to work. Our policies are working, and we're getting results for the American people. We need to do more to get prices under control. Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. It was the previous administration whose reckless policies and mismanagement led to the record budget deficits. In my administration, that's getting the deficit under control.
And sadly, it gets worse. The Biden administration continues to prove how clueless and out of touch they really are. Like their solution to the energy crisis, telling everybody just to go out and buy electric cars that they can't even afford.
We can take advantage of the next generation of electric vehicles that a typical driver will save about $80 a month from not having to pay gas at the pump.
I know electric vehicles can be expensive at the dealer, but it's one of the reasons why the president wants to see those tax credits to bring down the price at the dealer so that people can buy electric vehicles and don't have to ever worry about going to fill it up at the gas pump.
Even if all of the oil we use in the USA were made in the USA, the price of it is still subject to powers and dynamics outside of the USA.
Dagan, why can't we do both? Why can't the administration officials come out and just say, we'll do a little bit of fossil fuel, we'll do a little bit of green, and everybody say, fine, let's go?
Because they're ideologues and they have no connection to real-world consequences or facts. So when it comes to people and their pain, instead of, well, you know, I feel that this is hurting you, it's suck it up. That's why ideologues dictating policy is so dangerous and harmful. Number one, they could come out with a giant plan, but the policy on energy is as incoherent as Joe Biden himself. Andy Lippow, my go-to guy on energy analysis, said the Strategic Petroleum Reserve release is a one-time measure to bridge a supply disruption, but does nothing to get more supplies out of the ground to replace Russian supplies. That was in the Wall Street Journal. So why is Joe Biden castigating and vilifying and putting the hammer down on our own energy producers? And then he alienated Saudi Arabia, stopped backing and funding the war on the Iran-backed Houthis by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait combined have enough spare production to offset the oil and then some that's come off the market because of Russia.
But Biden needs that Iran nuke deal, Dagan.
Yes, we really need the Iran nuke deal. Then he's begging Venezuela and Iran for more oil rather than Saudi Arabia, who won't even pick up his ring-a-ding-ding, the crown prince. So what's going on is he is destroying our prosperity and damaging our standard of living rather than siding with our energy producers. And I'll just add one more thing. He's got to stop telling people to buy electric cars. If President Poltroon had had 1 foot in the real world in the last 50 years, he would know that we love to drive, we're a car country, and you never tell anybody, not even your spouse, what kind of vehicle to buy.
That is a good point. And Biden himself doesn't even own an electric car. He owns one of these muscle cars.
You know, he said, but you guys are just being too hard on him.
We are.
You know, I mean, he said, and I just heard him say that you're going to save $80 a month if you get an electric car. So I did the math. It's going to take me 100 years, $80 a month to afford that electric car. So I'm actually, I don't know, I'm actually going to have to go back in time and buy and start saving in order to do this. It's very, and by the way, it's $80 a month. That's an understatement in the Biden inflation. It's more like $80 a week is what we're paying. I also take issue with Politico. I think it was unfair to Joe Biden to call it a sophomore slump because that implies he had a good freshman year, right? A slump, you know. If it's been downhill from day one, there's no slump. It's just a slow roll to Armageddon. And I am wondering where all the never Trumpers are right now who said that anything was better than Trump. Are you sure I mean, come on. I know the mean tweets, they made you sad at night. You couldn't sleep. The psychological damage is there. Your PTSD over his insults were just too hard to take. But you got inflation, you got crime. I mean, come on.
And Politico spun the slump, too, Judge. They were like, oh, the president, he can't do that much with inflation. You know, he can't make Manchin do everything. So it's not all Joe's fault.
Yeah, well, they got it right. He can't do much. That's the end of the sentence, period. But you know what amazes me about this electric car thing is that they want everyone to buy one, right? And they want to give money and subsidize the car manufacturers. So we don't get money to buy the car. The car manufacturers get money so that they can sell it a little cheaper so that we can buy it. I mean, that's what they're doing, and they're doing it right in front of us. And you know, the saddest part of all this is that every senior citizen watching this show right now who lives on a fixed income and can barely afford to keep his or her car up to date and pay for gas can't even think about an electric car. And my final point is, you know, the batteries, someone mentioned this to me the other day, the batteries for electric cars, you know, the ones that are made of lithium from Afghanistan that we get from China. Hey, Joe, you don't have a connection to China, do you? Your son Hunter wasn't involved in China, was he? No, I got it wrong, I'm sure. Do you know how big those batteries are? They are huge. Yeah. When you get rid of that electric car, what do you do with that hazardous waste? You and your green energy pals, Joe.
Yeah, what do we do with all that battery acid, Jessica?
I think we blame Hunter Biden.
Yes. We'll be right back.
Isn't that the vibe? So I've been taking notes furiously on everything I want to touch. One, Greg, you can afford an electric car today.
I'm talking about the viewer at home. It's not about me, Jessica. How dare you?
Okay. So the reason that we heard from Joe Biden today is because we had a really great jobs report, but no one else has mentioned that.
Did we?
And even
it was short by 60,000.
It was good.
She said it.
It
was good. And
I'm honest.
I dispute it.
We're going to run out of time. I got to get through this.
That was my goal.
So we have a 3.6% unemployment rate, which is nearing the 50-year low. That's a really big deal that we've gotten there. That doesn't mean that inflation isn't a problem. By the way, it's a global problem. This is not a problem that only the United States is having. But we're seeing, which I find really interesting as a Democratic voter, a real fissure between what's going on with Biden and what's going on with moderate Democrats running across the country. And the question now will be if people running on the congressional level in these moderate districts like Abigail Spanberger, Elisa Slotkin, et cetera, who's now even supporting legislation about securing the border, and she does have a national security background, so that's important to that, will be running ahead of the president. And so I'm not saying that I think the Democrats are going to win in November. It still obviously looks like a Republican win when you look at the congressional ballot. But you have to think at this point, is it feasible that Democrats will outperform the president? And how often does that happen throughout history? Not that often.
All right. I think everybody's outperforming the president right now.
My dogs.
He's making Joe Biden's making Jimmy Carter's administration look better and better.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.